Welcome to Nifty Semantic Structures That Do Stuff. And with a title like that, you're probably wondering, who is this guy? So, my name is Ike Hecht. I am the lead project manager for WikiTech and also the lead project manager for WikiWorks. Why are extensions bad? I say that as somebody who wrote too many extensions. I was thinking about actually titling this Stop Using Extensions, but I thought that would be a little too controversial. You have to use extensions, but what's bad about it? Let's understand the downside of creating extensions, installing extensions, and using them. Number one, they need to be maintained by somebody. And therefore, they're often not maintained. I was going to take a poll, but I didn't want to embarrass. All right, we'll take a poll. So, how many of you wrote a MediaWiki extension and publicly released it? And also, you can put your hand down. Raise your hand if you think you've maintained them as much as you should have. Okay. Which proves my point. Extensions are bad because they need to be updated, and that means they're often not. You're going to need to update them every time you update MediaWiki. And that's if you can even figure out which extension version you need. In theory, we have branching, but unless it's a Wikimedia Foundation maintained extension, don't bother. And that leads us to your extension is eventually going to become obsolete. Your presentation, I think, proved that very well. And then you're going to have compatibility issues with other extensions. Look at the extension page in the section called Known Issues. Where's Brian? Security problems. You're not going to find too many in core. You're probably going to find a lot in extensions. Is that approximately right? Okay, exactly. All right. EMWCon 2018, that was last year. And I spoke to a number of you and a number of people who aren't back this year. But something that I took away from that conference that I wanted to sort of follow up on for this conference, can we build SharePoint in Semantic MediaWiki /Cargo? We know how awesome Semantic MediaWiki /Cargo are structured data. Can we just build SharePoint? You know, we're saying we're always competing with SharePoint. Just build it. Can we build it super quickly? Something that also came out. It's incredibly fast to build stuff with Semantic MediaWiki /Cargo. I'm going to go with Semantic MediaWiki just because that's what I used to build the software I'm going to show you. But Cargo, same thing. Can it be better? Because once you're dealing with MediaWiki, Semantic MediaWiki, there's so many features. Can it be better than SharePoint? Why not? And then the next question, can we build everything else in Semantic MediaWiki? WordPress, name the software package. In short, can we build nifty semantic structures that do stuff? I think that we can. But in order to get there, we need to start treating semantic structures like we do with code, like we do with extensions. And that would include making it generic. Instead of writing a new semantic structure for every single use case in every single company, have a set of structures that can actually be reusable. Separate the customizations from the main code, which will help you make it reusable. A settings dashboard, which we've spoken about the issue with settings for MediaWiki having a dashboard for that. How about having a dashboard for your own semantic data that's in there? Make it open source, collaborative, and even write tests within the wiki to make sure your semantic structures work as planned. Now, there are issues with doing what I'm suggesting. We'll get to them later. We don't yet have two tracks, although Cindy, I think we're getting close to have two different tracks of presentations for people who are end users, people who are developers, but we might be getting close. Instead, I have a two-track presentation. So different people are going to see this as completely different things, but all of you are going to be interested. So if you want to know why should I pay attention instead of just looking at my laptop and just glancing up once in a while to figure out why people are laughing. So for end users, a few things you'll get. A new approach to improving your wiki, some nifty structures that will inspire thought, and I'm actually going to post links. You might want to use these structures. You might want to download them and put them into your own wiki. You might like them so much you'll want us to install and customize them. And my favorite, you'll send us money for doing that. For developers/consultants, a proof of concept to a new approach to development, not so much extension-centric, but more Semantic MediaWiki-centric /cargo. Feel less guilty about not maintaining your extensions, because you won't have to. Happier customers, release your own Nifty structures, by all means. I'm going to show you 3 of them, but make as many as you'd like. And then those guys might hire you to customize them and send you money. You're welcome. So the 3 I'm going to show you today, and these are examples. A task manager, which will help us with actions related to the tasks and transparency, help us focus on the important things. A news feed to keep your users informed, very simple. A file manager, so powerful search, data tables powered. We'll see all about this right now. The task manager. So if you had the standard delivery and deadlines model, I don't mean to pick on Microsoft, but why not? You have a task, and you can know who it's assigned to. You can know, is it done or not? And the standard way to track what the progress is in the task is with a percentage. So you can easily tell, well, 3 weeks ago it was 24% done, 2 weeks ago it was 37% done, and right now it's 74% done. But what happened? You have no idea. There's nothing that helps you look inside the task and find out what's actually going on. And what do we need to do to actually get this task to completion? What are the problems? So the task is like a box, but you have no idea what's inside the box. So with this task manager that we created, so we added actions and transparency for progress logging. It's not just the task, it's actually actions within the task. So you get a complete task history log, reporting system, and it helps you focus on the important tasks. How does this actually work? So here's the structure. It's not as scary as it looks. So it supports custom meeting types. So you may have different departments. That would be a meeting type. This would be one department. This would be another department. A meeting record. It's very focused. This task system that we built is focused on meetings to make sure things actually get done. So you may meet once a month. You may meet once a year, once a day. Each one of those would be its own meeting record. And then at a meeting, you may have multiple tasks that you discuss at the meeting and assign. And then each task will have multiple events. What has to be done to actually get that task to completion? All these things are things that can be tracked by the task manager. So here's an example, very simple, nothing fancy, a task object. So you could see the information. This task was to emulate all possible task events. It was assigned to Erwin Schrödinger. Oh, I'm sure I'm butchering that name. It had a due date of March 29, 2019. And you could see that it actually completed. That's the status. And you could see every event that happened to actually bring the task to its completion. So you can see originally it was assigned to Albert Einstein, and there was an action taken. Until here, it's basically listed as in progress. It's a generic action. Then it got suspended. For whatever reason, it wasn't able to be done. It got resumed. It got reassigned. All right, we said instead of Albert Einstein doing it, our fellow Erwin Schrödinger is going to do that. And then finally, it gets completed. For the quantum mechanics fans here, was this task, before it was completed, did it exist in a state of both in progress and in completion at the same time? I'll let you think about that. Track progress by the events. Unlike an extension, this is actually very, very easily customizable. All right. For example, you add an action taken event to it. Here you have a page form. I think it's been mentioned in every single presentation so far. I'm not sure. All right. This is the actual form that created that event. So you can see the task, basic stuff, the events, each different event there. And each one of those is actually stored internally as a sub-object, as an event sub-object. You can monitor your tasks by status. So here's a Department A meeting. It happened in March 25. And these were the tasks that were created at the meeting. In this case, there were 2 tasks. This is the one that we just saw. Evaluate all passable task events. Emulate tasks in progress. That was assigned to Niels Bohr. And this task, you'll watch for the next meeting, that's going to be shown as incomplete. All right, so when we go to the next meeting, we click that Department A button in the upper right-hand corner. You'll see that it's going to show that that task is still incomplete. So at this meeting, what happened? This is a record of where we were at each meeting. There was a task created called Let Us Suspend This Task. There was an incomplete task. It wasn't done yet. It's left over from the previous meeting. And these are the tasks that are completed. We can actually feel good about ourselves. Something actually got done here. It was completed since the last meeting. All right, next meeting. You see again, there were no tasks created on the next meeting. Completed since the last meeting, nothing. And 1 task remained incomplete, and 1 task is listed as suspended. So we don't really care about the old completed tasks, but they're all logged. This is all stored in the wiki. There's no reason to put it here, because you can find it by going to the previous meeting pages. So the focus, as you can see, is on the most important part, which is the incomplete tasks. You can also easily query, of course. This is semantic structured data. So if you want to see Niels Bohr, how many tasks does he have outstanding? You can get a list, and it'll show you the most important information from that task that he's supposed to be doing. The calendar. Some of you will recognize semantic result formats. So you got a nice calendar interface. It'll show you where the meetings are. You click on those. You'll see each meeting record with all the tasks that were done at that meeting. And the query form. Yaron, we've been doing some really nifty things with query forms. You can see by the nice little animation there, you can find it by meeting, you can get it by meeting type, you can get it by meeting day. So what was this built in? It's not an extension. There's nothing that you have to install that you probably don't already have. Semantic MediaWiki, semantic result formats, page forms, parser functions. You do have to have, if you want it to look nice, common.css, common.js, you have to add a little bit to those. We'll talk about that later. The thing is, when we started with this, we didn't start with like a certain model. We want our task manager to emulate whatever package is out there, Microsoft. We didn't start with that. We're like, okay, let's just make a task manager in MediaWiki. And we started like that, and I would say even accidentally, what we ended up with was with a product that's actually better than what's out there. We didn't try to make it better. It was just like, hey, why don't we just add event sub-objects? The point is that it's so easy to create these structures that I think, in answer to my questions before, it can be done. We can create these structures. We can create them very quickly. I can't tell you exactly how long it took us to create this, but it's ridiculously quick. Like, it was almost no work to get all that done. And we're emulating a package that probably took teams of people to work over many years. Next, you have a news feed. Quick, from a data structure standpoint, what's the difference structurally between a news feed and a blog? Nothing. All right, so a news feed, you could put blog, you could think of blog also, basically the same idea. And in essence, what you end up is a very basic WordPress that we just did. All right, so the news feed is simple and generic. You've got custom topics. In this case, the topics are general in MediaWiki. Sticky items. The top item is sticky. Pinned, some people call it. Annually repeated items, that's the bottom one. That one will repeat the same day every year. So there's all kinds of things you might want to put in your news format. Very common to have this on a main page of a wiki. New content announcements, event-based content, birthdays, which you don't want to forget. You make it an annual event, it comes in automatically. Blog posts, polls, surveys, all those things. Everything is in this unified interface. And also what we did is, every piece of information in here has a shelf life. It has a start date and an end date. If you don't want it to show up after a certain point, it just doesn't show up. You decide when that information is actually important. All right, we have a draft ability, not ready for publication yet. You can make it sticky, you can make it repeat every year, and like I mentioned, decide when it should show up, which newsfeed it belongs to. Free tagging, so you could decide which, if you want to query it. We'll see some queries later. This is pretty cool. We made attachments. Most users don't know how to go in there, decide how to display an image, a file, a URL, a wiki page. Most users don't know, and they're certainly not interested in coding that. And you don't actually have to do anything other than you decide what this is, you put in the fields. The fields, of course, will change. The wiki will decide behind the scenes how that should be presented, based just on what it is. All right, you can see a query page. Aaron, does this look a little bit like an extension, A semantic drill down? It's another, a little bit, this is a very basic semantic drill down just done in MediaWiki with page forms. It's just a query form, and it's semantic drill down. Very basic, but you don't need to install an extension. So this is another semantic structure that can be created. I believe we can create a basic semantic drill down structure that's generic and just use it for anything. So you can see that in action. And what's behind the scenes? Not a new extension. Semantic MediaWiki, semantic results formats, page forms, parser functions, and a little bit of CSS and JavaScript. You seeing a pattern? Next, we have our file manager. I really like this because for Enterprise MediaWiki users especially, the way MediaWiki handles files, it's not bad. It's great for what it was created to do, but it's not great for enterprise use. The MediaWiki file system contains very limited information about each file. It's difficult to retrieve files. How do you find the file you want? And it can be hard to view basic information about files. So enterprise users are used to Google Drive or similar systems. You want a file manager. A phrase we hear in the enterprise, show me my files. What did I create? What am I interested in? That's what you would see in Google Drive. You see your own files. I'm not interested in everybody else's, or if I am, I'll figure it out, right? I'll find them. But I want to see my files, so it defaults to a view of what you actually created. In Wikipedia, there's no such thing as my files, but in enterprise, it's very common. It's a need. So we wanted to create a file manager that would allow people to browse the files and have even more flexibility. We wanted to really imitate Google Drive. Actually, that's what the customer asked us to do. So we wanted to imitate Google Drive. And you'll see that, again, almost by accident, we're going to end up with features that there's no way you're doing this in Google Drive. As easy as a file system, the uploads become semantically tagged. As you upload it, it sort of prompts you. It's not a one-step process, but it'll prompt you, semantically tag, tell us what this object is about. Let the wiki understand what you're doing. The default view shows your own files. You could still see all the other files if you'd like. Powerful and flexible search, which we'll see. And it shows the basic file information in a table. So here's what the file manager looks like. You'll recognize this is data tables. And you can see all the filters on the top. You can look for specific types of files. And if you need a more complex query, you hit the Setup Query button, and we'll see what that looks like. So here's a query. You can look at the documents created by a certain user, created within certain dates. The lookup results, you can see what that looks like. It's the same table that we saw before, but this is actually filtered very specifically to what you'd like to see. You can look based on the last editor, the author, the date range, the categories it belongs to, the file type, the tagging, and or inverse. Again, we tried to imitate Google Drive. Can you do this in Google Drive? No, not a chance. Behind the scenes, you guessed it. Nothing special, right? Well, it is special, but really, really easy. Doesn't require extension, doesn't require any maintenance every time the extension schema changes. Semantic MediaWiki, semantic result formats, page first parser functions, some CSS, and JavaScript. We actually have the first two. I'm going to post it on the extension talk. If you'd like to download it, you're free to. So where do we go from here? Hopefully, you're a little bit intrigued. There's something to be done here. There's something possible here. We can change our thinking a little bit from this extensions kind of approach, or if we're doing semantic kind of stuff, to change our approach to make what we're doing just generic, make it reusable, share it with others. How do we do that? So one would be a Git repository for semantic structures. Not all these ideas are mine. I've heard people speaking about it. I know there's some talk about it. But why not have it tracked by a Git repo? Maybe with an XML, something like that. If somebody's actually improving it, let him share his improvements, or somebody else who wants to request something. Request it. Maybe somebody else will put it in. Easier installation. This is not the easiest thing to install. It's not as easy as an extension, assuming the extension works. Right? We all know how to install an extension. To download an XML, put it in, not always so easy. And especially improving on commons.css, common.js. That part is like a weak point here, because that would be very easy with an extension. But to download CSS and JavaScript, it's not so simple. But I'm sure we could easily create a system that would make that easy. All right? So get on board. If you're intrigued, talk to me. I'm interested in helping out, but I don't think I could do all this on my own. I'm pretty sure I can't. So if you like the idea, let's talk. If you didn't like the idea, I hope you found some of my jokes funny. Thank you very much.